Hey all, Tony Bing here, hello and welcome back to another in-depth review for Marvel Strike Force. Now tonight we have a much anticipated character to look at, it is of course Venom. So in the video what I'll do is I'll start off with a general overview that includes his tags and how you unlock them. We'll then have a look at his stats, so that's his offensive and defensive stats. Next up it's his abilities, we then have a look at his synergies, and then we finish up with all important tier list that everyone looks forward to. So let's start off anyway with this general overview. Venom then is a controller class. He's all about spreading debuffs that other characters set up, and also he has a fair amount of bleed in his kit as well. Now despite the fact he is a controller, he can be really quite tanky as well, as he should be. When we look at his tags, he really doesn't have many of these unfortunately, and this is one of his downsides. He's got villain, city, bio and controller, so the only ones that are really relevant are the villain for that campaign and the city tag, which will come in handy with certain nodes and raids that will have that particular tag requirement. When it comes to unlocking them, we've got two methods at the moment. So you've got the symbiotic campaign event, where you can get a nice amount of shards for them, and you've also got the strike raids that are ongoing at the moment, and of course you do get deals in the store as well. Now next up, with the overview covered, we'll have a look at his stats. When we look at Venom's offensive stats, these are a bit on the lower side, but it is to be expected considering he is a controller class. Now his damage rating is way down at E. Your base damage rating ties in directly with the amount of damage you do via bleeds, but he actually will be doing multiple bleeds most of the time across various characters, so that means he can do a decent amount of damage if you can get the bleed stacks up. When we look at his speed, it's way down at E, so it's 93. Now this is a bit of a double-edged sword because it needs to be slow enough for other characters to apply debuffs for Venom to then spread, but also with it being as slow as it is, it can be quite tricky to get the timing right that the other team's turn doesn't actually kick in, and then the debuffs are lost before he has the chance, so he can be really tricky to manage. For the final offensive stat, we look at focus. Now this is way down at D, and it is very relevant to him because he's all about applying debuffs, and if your focus is low, then the chances are the enemy will resist. He applies so many debuffs that it does help him a little bit with the low focus, but it can harm him. There is however a way in his kit this can be made up for, and it's an interesting mechanic. Now if he's teamed up with Spidey or actually going against Spidey, he gains an additional 100% focus, so his focus is in the region of 1300 when he's maxed out, and that gives you the D rating. Team him up with Spidey, it jumps up to 2600, meaning he would actually have the highest focus rating in the game there, so that would really help out for applying the debuffs, and that's something you need to bear in mind with him. Now next up, with the offensive stats covered, let's have a look at the defensive stats. Defensive wise then, Venom actually does really well here. Now his health is up at A, so it's in the region of 94,000 health he has when he's maxed out, which is pretty awesome. His armour is way down at F, but that's to be expected to offset the huge health pool he's got. His resistance is D, which is on the lower side, but we do have something in his kit which can help that. Now talking about the other parts of his kit, when he's maxed out in his passive, you can heal a whopping 15% health per turn, so that's in the region of round about 13,000 health you can heal every turn. Really nice, although he is on the slower side, so he won't be getting as many turns of course. Also in his kit, he has an ability where he can apply defense up to himself for 2 turns. When he applies that defense up, he will of course be taking less damage, but it means his resistance will jump up by 50% as well, so that will jump up to possibly a C or maybe even a B rating there, so that means he'll be less susceptible to debuffs himself. Now with the stats covered, let's have a look at his abilities. For the abilities then, we have 4 in total to look at. It's the basic, special, ultimate and also the passive. When I show off the tooltips of each of these, the information will show them at level 7 for active skills and level 5 for passive. That's taken from msf.gg, and then what I'll do as well when I'm discussing the skill, I'll let you know how high I would recommend actually leveling it. Now the first one we look at is a passive, which is Symbiosis. So on turn, heal for 15% of this character's max health, and if health is greater than 95%, you gain defense up for 2 turns, so that's really nice there. Also with this, we've already touched on this to an extent, you gain 100% focus if Spider-Man is present. Now the defense up comes at rank 4 of this skill, so without a doubt you want to take it up to rank 4. Difference between rank 4 and rank 5 is the heal. So at rank 4 it heals for 10%, at rank 5 it heals for the 15%, so that's roughly 4,000 health. So it's a lot of materials for an extra 4,000 health, but it is every turn, so I would say it's down to you if you want to take this up to 5, but take it up to level 4 without a doubt. For his basic, we have a really nice skill here called Maul. Now with this, you attack the primary target for 230% damage and you apply bleed for 1 turn. Also with this, you flip 2 positive effects to negative effects, and then finally the attack cannot be dodged. So that means the pesky Spidey won't be dodging this move. That's really nice from a flavour perspective. Now in regards to flipping the positive effects, this also applies to a taunt. So let's say that a tank puts up taunt and defense up on themselves, as many do. They normally apply 2 effects at the same time. What will happen is the taunt will be flipped into a bleed and the defense up will be flipped into defense down. You've also got the initial bleed as well on that first line, so it means a tank can go from having a taunt and defense up to having 2 bleed, remove the taunt and having defense down as well, and that's really pretty awesome. Now in regards to how high you would take it, I would say you want to max this out, because the way bleed damage works, it is based on the base damage of the actual skill that's doing it, and that goes up as the skill levels increased as well there, so you want to max this one out. For the special, we have a really nice skill here called Violate. It's 4 turns to charge and comes fully charged. You generally use this at the start of a fight as long as the enemy hasn't got a taunt up. Then of course you use the basic to flip it and add the bleed, or if there's a particular enemy that's got a ton of debuffs on them. If you do, you would want to use the ultimate to spread those debuffs, but otherwise this is the one to start off with. Now with it, you attack the primary target for a huge 380% damage, you apply ability block and free bleed for 2 turns as well, so it can completely neuter a target in regards to their next skill, and they'll just be getting lots of damage through the bleed as well. Now the bleed changes from 1 turn to 2 turns at level 7, so this is a skill that without a doubt you want to take up to that max level 7 there. For the ultimate, we have a skill called Corruption. Now 6 turns to charge and comes fully charged. As mentioned in the last section, you generally won't use this first turn unless you have a character that already has a ton of debuffs on them round 1. Now maxed out with this, you attack the primary target for 230% damage and adjacent targets for 180% damage. You apply heal block for 2 turns to primary adjacent targets, and the most important and interesting fact about this skill is also you spread all negative effects from the primary target to all adjacent targets. Now at level 5 of this skill you actually only spread 2 negative effects, whereas at level 6 you spread all negative effects, and there are another 7 negative effects that can be spread. One that won't be spread is stun. That would simply be too powerful if that was the case, so take this up to level 6. Also with this, you want to try and apply your bleeds first, because you apply the bleeds and then you apply the heal block with this, and the enemy's health is just going to tick down and there's nothing they can do about it. It's a really nice skill, but it is very situational and can be quite tough to use to make the most out of it at times. Now with that covered, let's have a look at the synergies. When it comes to characters you want to pair Venom up with, it's all really about characters that can lay down some debuffs and he can then spread them to the other characters. Now the first and most obvious character would be Spider-Man. He's great because the 2 turns of defense down will mean that even if an enemy gets a turn before Venom can act, the defense down will still be on him for it to be spread. You've also got that extra 100% focus as well. Ant-Man's the same in that he gets ability block for 2 turns. Same applies for Loki, he gets the defense down on his first turn for 2 turns there, so it takes the risk out of using that skill. You've then got other characters. Now they don't have debuffs that last as long, but they can still be very useful. So you've got Mordo, you can apply a ton of debuffs. Scarlet Witch and Vision can be a great combo. Scarlet Witch especially, as once you've got all the debuffs and characters, she can prolong them all for an extra turn. Doctor Strange is great for flipping any rogue buffs that may get thrown in there. And then finally, if you get lucky with Korath in the turn 1 and the character isn't fast enough to take their turn before Venom and for it to drop off, you could have ability block and also heal block to spread on the first turn there. So there really is quite a few characters that can work well with them, but there is without a doubt quite an element of luck, because you need debuffs to stick in characters and not drop off to make the most of them. Now next up, let's have a look at the characters you want to avoid. When it comes to characters you want to avoid, there's one main real theme here. It's characters that have cleanse. So you've got Jessica Jones, Scientist Supreme, and also Ronan that have an AoE cleanse. You've also got Deadpool in here. He doesn't have a cleanse of sorts, but he will gain health based on the amount of debuffs on him. Iron Fist and Luke Cage, since they are pretty awesome rework, now have self cleanses on themselves. Finally, a character type that you would want to avoid is one that has slow. With Venom's attack speed being at 93, if he's slowed down, he's not healing as much, and it can be a lot more difficult to find that perfect moment to start applying his debuffs or spreading them, so that's something you do have to be wary of. Now, let's move on to the final section of the video, which will be the tier list. So we're now on to the part of the video that everyone watching seems to enjoy the most, and I actually enjoy the least doing, because it's the one part of the video that gets the most scrutiny and it can be really quite subjective. Now before we do rate Venom, I'll run over his pros and cons as rationale. So when we look at his pros, you've got that awesome basic, and the thing that makes the basic awesome is the fact that if a enemy tank has got the taunt and the defense up, you can convert that to defense down and 2 bleed, so that's really nice there. You've got his great survivability for a controller. Without looking at all the controllers offhand, I think he's probably the most durable one by a wide margin, with the huge health pool, the defense up, and also the regen. You get really nice synergy with Spidey, and I'm sure in time as we get more Spider-Verse characters that will only improve. You've also got the fact that if he's used correctly and you get the right team set up and the dice all fall in your favour, then he can be incredible spreading all those different debuffs. Now onto his downsides, you've got the fact that he's slow. Of course he has to be slow because other characters need to apply the debuffs before he can spread them, but because he is so slow, it can sometimes be quite difficult to spread them, because the character with the debuffs on them may get their turn, and the majority of debuffs only last for 1 turn, meaning they drop off, so he really can be quite difficult to use in that regard. You've also got the fact that his focus is on the lower side if you don't pair him up with Spidey. So his focus was 1300, that was a D rating, but if you do pair him up with Spidey, then it jumps up to what would be an A+ rating, because it's the highest focus rating in the game. Finally, we have the fact that he's just really difficult to use him at the most optimum time. If I was to rate characters and how easy they are to use, I would say Venom would be the advanced class, because you need everything to fall in your favour in your side in regards to the debuffs being put up on correct characters. But on the opposite side, you need to make sure that a character doesn't taunt at the wrong time and pull the focus, meaning you can't spread the debuffs or take their turn and just have all the debuffs completely disappear from them straight away. So can be really quite difficult to use, but if you use correctly, it could without a doubt turn the match for you. Now with all that in mind, I would say that he just scrapes into the low alpha rating. I was very close to putting him high tier 3, but with his increased survivability, he should last longer than other controllers, meaning he'll have more chance to actually get that right situation to get the debuffs off and get everything spread. And you've got the really good basic and also the special as well. All these moves are really good, it's just 1 or 2 of them are really quite situational in regards to how you use them. But low alpha is where I would rate them. Let me know, as you always do, in the comments below if you agree, disagree, and give your rationale whys. Let me know how you get on in regards to farming them as well. I did stump up for the pack so I could show off some footage for them day 1, so I'm hoping by the end of this event I'll have them round about 4-star, maybe even 5-star if I get lucky and our alliance starts doing a bit better and pushing up to 60% in the tier 3 raids. Actually, let me know how you get on with the raids as well, because I think some people are struggling a little bit with them. So as always, hope this video has been helpful. It's been quite a while since I've done my last in-depth review, but it was fun getting back into another one again, and thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all again soon.